Hi, I'm Mark Elliott, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about what collaboration is and isn't. One thing that I often see is collaboration being used as a buzzword. Uh, we're going to collaborate on this new policy, or we're going to collaborate on the creation of this new product or platform, when that's really not exactly what people always mean. They mean we're going to have a project that will deliver this policy or this program or this solution in technology. And of course, projects can be collaborative, but often they're not. We have a strong tradition of delivering projects, i.e. the discipline of project management. That whole discipline was really born out of engineering projects, building bridges, things that, if they collapse, they kill people. So you have to be very specific and very disciplined about how you go about those types of projects. That's the same for collaboration. However, collaboration has a range of other sort of factors involved that require different types of thinking. So the traditional engineering project, it really does lend itself to a command and control type of mindset. You get everything planned out in advance, create your blueprints, you know exactly what it's going to look like once it's delivered, and you make sure everybody does their job and does it to a very high level of quality, and at the end you've got the outcome that was designed on the outset. That's very different than in collaborative settings, largely because collaboration at its heart involves co-creation. So that is essentially the creative process, but the creative process where you're involving more than one person. And that's where the complexity comes in. When you're involving more than one person for a creative outcome, necessarily you can't predict what that's going to look like. You can't create the blueprint that then you deliver against. So in that type of setting, it doesn't lend itself to that command and control mindset or more traditional project management disciplines. You're not able to put things on a railroad track, so to speak, and then just kind of get there and manage quality throughout. Instead, it requires an openness, obviously, to seeing what emerges, in that if you bring people together specifically because they have a particular level of capability or experience, you can't necessarily know what they're going to bring to the table until they do. And even more so, you can't know how that contribution is going to affect and influence the contributions of others until that happens. And when that happens, you have an emergent outcome. And so those emergent co-created outcomes, that's really the heart of collaboration. And that's really what makes it very different from every other project that we do. The other thing that I would say in this context is that in terms of what collaboration is, and from that perspective of co-creation, there's a number of things that necessarily must be co-created for collaboration to exist and to take place. In the first instance, shared understanding has to be co-created. I might bring my understanding of what we're trying to achieve in a particular project or for an initiative, and others will bring theirs. And again, it's not until those understandings are brought to the table, exposed, discussed, explored, and then a new shared understanding is created that you can actually have the foundation for collaboration. So step one, co-creation of a shared understanding. Step two, then that shared understanding allows for the possibility of a co-created shared vision. So based on that understanding, what might we create together? And the might we is important because, of course, on the outset, as I said before, even though you might have a shared vision that arises from a genuinely co-created shared understanding, you still can't predict what is actually going to be delivered. So that shared vision is important. It's kind of that fuzzy, nebulous space that floats on top of shared understanding where people get inspired, they get excited, they think, right, this is why we're talking, this is what we feel we can do together. And it's kind of it's a space more than a specific thing often in that shared vision, but it needs to be tangible. And so the next step to help make it tangible is a plan. Once you've got that vision, you need a plan for realizing that vision. And this is an interesting area where collaboration often goes a little wrong, in that you take some good steps, cultivating some shared understanding that leads to a shared vision, and then it's left with somebody else, an individual, to create the plan. And that individual creates that plan and then expects everybody to deliver against that plan. And then, of course, that's where we're reverting back to that traditional project management sort of approach. Instead, for genuine collaboration to really take place, the plan needs to be a co-creation as well. And there's different scales and different approaches you can take with that planning. It doesn't have to involve everybody, depending on the scale and scope of your collaboration. But I guess it does need to involve everybody to a degree in terms of getting their input and being genuinely open and receptive to adjusting and refining that plan based upon the input of everybody that's involved. So when a plan is co-created as part of a collaboration, then you've got a real genuine platform for collaboration. For that last and final step, of course, which is to co-create the outcome or the impact. Almost always, the outcome we're intending or the impact we're hoping to make is separate from those tangible outputs. So you might have done a great job building shared understanding and a shared vision and a plan even for a policy that's developed through co-creation. Now the policy, like literally the policy, that's not the impact. Nobody knows about or cares about that actual document in the world beyond a small handful of people typically. The impact is the result of implementing that policy. So that the more that the collaboration can be focused on the impact that's intending to be made, then the more that those tangible outcomes or documents or software solutions, whatever it might be, the more those will tend to be appropriately aligned. So 4 substantive co-creations involved for any collaboration of any scale, of any sort: shared understanding, shared vision, a shared plan, and shared outcomes.